In this video, we will explain network programming in C++ on Windows using the C networking APIs. To begin, it is important to always include these two header files. They provide all the core networking utilities we'll be using in this video. We'll begin with using the TCP protocol since it provides a reliable, connection-oriented way to communicate and is the simplest starting point for building client-server programs. The first thing you do is call WSA startup because that initializes the WinSock library. After you initialize the WinSock library, you make a call to getAddrInfo, which will configure your server's IP address. And this structure right here, it tells getAddrInfo what type of IP address you want. So this specifies that you want IPv4 type of address. You want to use the TCP protocol, and you want to create a server. After configuring your server's IP address, you create a server socket, which represents basically the listening phone for your server. It'll be accepting all of the incoming connections. After you create your server socket, you bind it to your server's IP address so that your program knows where to listen for incoming connections. Next, you invoke listen on your server socket to listen for incoming connections. Next, you call accept to create a client socket. To receive data from the client, you create a buffer and call receive on that client. Receive returns the number of bytes received from the client. If that number is less than 0, then there's some error while receiving data. If that number is 0, then the client disconnected from the server. And if it's greater than 0, obviously it receives some data. Similar to receive, send returns the number of bytes sent. Since we are using TCP, it is not guaranteed that all of the bytes will be sent in one call, so we use this loop to make sure that all of the bytes in this message are actually sent to the client. It is important that at the end of the program, we free all of our resources. So first, we have to free the memory allocated by the call to getAttr_info. We need to close the connection with the client socket if there is one. Same with the server socket, and then we call WSA cleanup, similar to WSA startup. Creating a TCP client will be quite similar to creating a TCP server, except instead of binding and listening, we'll be calling connect. This should all look quite familiar to you from earlier. You initialize WinSock. You can figure the server IP address, except you do not add a AI passive flag because we're creating a client now. Um, Here, I'm going to fill in later with my server's IP address, the IP address of the machine, which will be running the server. Um, Create the client socket, and then instead of binding and listening, you connect. Now we're going to convert from using the TCP protocol to the UDP protocol. Now let's go over the differences between this code and the TCP code from earlier. For starters, there's no client socket, and as such, there's no call to listen or accept. There's just a server socket. When you set up the hint structure, you use this UDP flag instead of the sockstream flag. This signals that we're using UDP rather than TCP. And then when you receive data from the client, you call the receive from method. You use the server socket and you load that data into the buffer. On second thought, I'm going to write a reply to the client that sends the data right here. By using receive from, we're basically saying that we can receive data from anyone that wants to communicate with our server. We're not having to establish some sort of connection beforehand. And we can also save the information for the client that sent the data to us. And then we can use that to write a send to. And we just pass in the client information that we got from receive from. Now we're going to convert the client code from TCP to UDP as well.